So we needed a way to be able to put a form on a page and then somehow redirect back to that same page where we came from using workflow. So we have a workflow activity or task that allows us to redirect the user to a specific location, which is great if you know where you want to go back to. Like if you want to go back to the home page, then you can always redirect to the home page. That's perfect. But what if you want to reuse the same workflow for multiple forms or reuse the same form on multiple pages? And then when the user submits that form, go back to where they submitted the form from. There is no way to do that right now. And that's where this PR came from, is how can we redirect back the user to the page where they came from? So I have a content item in here. I pre-created a couple pages just so we can kind of see this and test it out. So these two content items, they're clone. So literally they do the same thing, just a different title with a different route. So if I edit this one, you'll see that I create a form. There is the location, the action, which is a workflow. This is one of the new options that I added. So on the form, just like we have a way to say, include anti-forgery token, we also have enable request originated location. And what this does, it just adds a hidden field in the form of the location of the page where the form is rendered at. Okay, and to see that, I'm going to show here. This is a form, or this is the form that was generated. And if we look in here, you'll see two hidden fields. This field is for request verification token, and this request is for the originated form. And as you can see right now, it's /test because that's where we are. And if we go to the other one, it's going to have a different value based on the page. And as you see here, it's /test-2. And so the way how this works is that if you uncheck this, then that hidden value is no longer included, but by default, we include it anyway. And if you go to workflows, you can add the new activities. So here I create a basic workflow. All it does is just show a notification, then redirect the user back to where they come from. And this is the new activity that was added. So if we go here, you see there's a form originated HTTP redirect. And this one redirects the agent to the original location of the form. And that's what this one does. It evaluates this input value and redirect the user back to where it came from. And if you want to see it in action, so here you go, we're on test 1, and we're just going to submit the form. Got a breakpoint, get rid of that. And I got that flash notification. I'm back to test. And if I go to the second page, which is another route, and I do a submit, and here you go, I get the flash notification. I'm back on test 2. So again, here, I don't have to redefine where the user needs to go. I can just say redirect to where the user came from or originated from and be done with it. See, there's the other, it's probably worth mentioning. So there's a HTTP redirect. So this one will allow you to specify, specific location where you want the user to go. Okay, and we can't really use that here because we don't know where the form, was originated from, because it could be from multiple places. So that's the main difference between these two. And that is it for this demo. Questions, comments?
Yes. Anyone else before I go?
No, go.
No, I didn't ask you. I said anyone else.
Oh, anyone else? I thought I'd say anything else.
Sorry. Yeah, so there is the HTTP redirect, and there is no. So I want this new activity and this option are working together, and it's working. I like it. My concern is that it's sad that we can't make it reusable for other things. Example, here you have one form. So you expect that in the same workflow request, like when you submit the form, the workflow instance runs and then comes to an activity that knows that it's in a request that was issued by a form. So the two activity, the option and the redirect activity, have to be used in the same request. And if you want to send an email and then come back when the user clicked on the email and then say, okay, now go back to the form that originated the email, you can't because it's not in the same request. It's two different requests. And what I suggested on when I asked on Thursday was, is there a way to actually store the URL in the workflow state instead of just the request state, such that even on a long workflow, we can reuse this value? Like, oh, I want to go back to the first form, like from 2 days ago. So the activity would be a HTTP redirect and use the value of the workflow instance. So I see
I
value.
thought about that because we talked about that last time. So I thought about that. In this context, your whole workflow relies on an HTTP request because you want to be able to do things with like validate the form data. So really your whole workflow doesn't work if you don't have form data, right? And we do not store form data in the input. So it's kind of the same thing. Like if your workflow really relies on on a form data, then you can't really go through and redirect if you don't have, like the whole request will fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you can't, because you are creating a new concern, which is, oh, but if it needs to be in the same request, what I'm suggesting will work with the same request and a different request. Because in the same request, you could have the form data and the originated URL. I'm not saying you can't do that. But with my recommendation, you can also do without the form request if you don't need it. And maybe you need, there are two different solutions. Like there is the easy one, the configuration, it just works. And there is the extended one where you can also save the URL in the state. So this way you would have two options, or another one from the one you have today, which is, okay, first you want to generate the originated URL. There is this option. And maybe you want to give it a name because you want to store it, like first form. Okay. And then you can still have your magical redirect the user back to the form origin, which will take the ambient form, the latest one actually. But you could also use the HTTP redirect where you could read the state that was stored by the first form to do something else. Because you might also have two forms in your workflow, but want to redirect to the first one and then the second one, right? So yeah, I think a good compromise would be to keep whatever you did, but add another option with a setting to store the named value, like to give it a name, so it will define a new variable in the workflow that will contain this value. So you can refer to that later. Not clear?
I'm trying to process. No, it's
so you keep everything like you have because that's the simplest way to use what you did. But if you open the handle incoming HTTP request options, the first workflow activity option. Oh, it's in the form, sorry, the form options then.
Yeah, the form options.
Where you have the new option. Like, yeah, this one, you see, enable request originated in the collection. So by default, it will do what you have today, which is store the URL in the ambient request items. But maybe you could have another sub option to this one, which is what is
define a name.
Yes, do you want to save that as in the workflow instance? Give me a name. And then if people want to use HTTP redirect in 2 days, or they want to have 3 forms and go to the first one, they can, because they named the variable that they want to use. You could say you can then remove your custom originated redirect, because the standard one will do that. But yours makes it easier because you don't have to type the name of the variable in both activities.
I think I understand.
Okay.
I just think it just might complicate, trying to explain what that does to a user. You know what I mean?
I'm seeing, like, I see it's useful, so I'm seeing it might be useful for something else.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I get it. But I'm just saying, trying to explain that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Oh, well,
trying to explain it to the user what that means or what
Yes.
it does,
And the second part of my comments is, I don't understand what the text of your thing does. Like, I know your feature. If I don't know the feature and I read this text, I have no idea what it's doing. Enable request originated location, I have no idea what it does. Pick someone in the next meeting and ask them, okay, you have this text here. What will happen if people check this box?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Feel free to
So
provide a better verbiage. I mean,
save. It should start by save form URL, something like that, at least. So it says that, okay, I want to save it. And then in the hint, you could say, you can use the whatever other activity to redirect to this page later, or then the option, save the value of the URL in a custom variable, and then there is a text box. But enable request originated location, there is no verb. The verb is enable. Okay, so I want request originated location. Yeah. That's why I say it should, like, store, save, forms URL, something like that.
Maybe like include the form location in the form in the request.
Be careful. No, I think it's an implementation detail. The fact that you use an input in the form, no, that's an implementation detail. I don't care that there is an input with the request form, whatever. No, you can just say save forms URL or forms location, and in the hint explain what other activity you need to use to do what, or link to a documentation. But it's not appealing the enable request originated location. I'm like, it's too complex for me. I don't understand that, so it's too complex. I don't need that. That's my concern.
Okay.
But
I'll update that verbiage.
Ask for their voicing if they want to voice their idea.
And the PR is out there. Anybody interested, they can go and comment and give us feedback.
They won't, because they don't understand the text.
Yeah. Okay.
Who should we? Zoltan would say something. So Gabor maybe will say something when he explains the feature.
Yeah, I mean, I'll update it, but if someone else has a better way to do it,
yeah, people will see the meeting and comment on that. Okay. Okay, that's great. Thank you.